All right, welcome to episode 5, Nerds with No Grit. This is No Grit today. No Tyler. I'm Aaron. I will be the guy starting off our intro, and with me, Mr. Josh Bauer.
Yeah, hi.
Flames jersey is the Chuck jersey.
Absolutely. We got the Panthers game on later today, and, support my boy Matt.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So, yeah, no Tyler. We haven't been able to get an episode out for a little bit here, and yeah, but we can manage without him for a bit. It'll be all nerds though, so if you want some grit this episode, we're gonna be a bit soft.
Yeah,
but we'll be harsh when we have to, depending on what we're gonna get into. We'll just start off really quick with the we're gonna do the Panthers versus Bruins. We're gonna get into all the round 2 matchups pretty quick here, and we'll just see exactly how Tyler and I feel about how they went and the teams that moved on, and I'm sure we'll have many different thoughts on, or maybe similar thoughts. I mean, I think pretty much it was all the favorites that made it on to the next round for the most part. And Av Stars was a pretty tight one until Nichushkin went down. Rangers, Canes made a comeback, and then they devastated their fans. And yeah, so anyways, let's start into Panthers Bruins, and Josh, if you want to take over for here. And
yeah, well, Panthers Bruins, that was a good series there. Boston put up a lot more of a fight than I expected, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
They had an excellent game 1. They won 6-1 and then lost. They lose 6-1 game 2. It was a big blowout.
Yeah. They traded blowouts. It was like the Panthers just reminding fans that if you thought the Bruins were going to steamroll us, then no, that wasn't happening.
No, that didn't happen. Swayman, I feel bad for Swayman, man, because Swayman did, despite allowing multiple goals in those games 2 and 3, played good.
He did.
He played very well. He had excellent playoffs this year, and it sucks for him that he's not moving on. But Florida just, I think, was the better team overall. I still love the Tkachuk Pasternak fight. I love that so much.
Yeah, that was good. Well,
I know it was from like game 1 ages ago, but it's still such a good bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that even talking about Swayman, Boston's going to have an interesting. We're totally going to be going into off season at some point. We don't want to get too much into it now, but obviously he's an RFA. They signed him to a 1-year deal last year, a bridge, and now he's probably going to be wanting to get paid. So all the Ullmark rumors have been swirling around and seeing what team would be interested in going after him. I saw that, I don't know where I saw it, but I saw Canes would be another team that would be interested in Ullmark. And of course, people connect that with Nikas and how, he would be a guy that's on one of the odd men out in Carolina, and them kind of flipping a lot of their guys and a lot of their expiring contracts. So I don't know if it would be a 1-for-1, but, you could potentially make a trade there. And, I think the truth is Boston, unless Swayman's taking, even $6 million, I think the truth is that they just don't have a lot of trading assets aside from, one of their really top end goalies, and teams could sure use a goalie like Swayman or Ullmark. So, Boston probably going to move ahead with Swayman.
Yeah.
Unless they pull a Corey Schneider move and they're like, well, we can get more for Swayman. But Ullmark doesn't have a Luongo-like contract, so I don't think there's going to be much conversation with Swayman.
No, exactly. Swayman's younger. He's he was their starter for a reason in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
And Ullmark is great. Ullmark is also an excellent goalie. I think they could have done just as well in the playoffs with Ullmark. However, you got to move ahead with just one of them, unless you're planning on spending all your money on 2 goalies, which is not a great strategy in my opinion. But yeah, you could definitely get a good return for either of them. Probably will be Ullmark. Ullmark was almost traded to the Kings, I think, this trade deadline, but he nixed it because he didn't like he'd rather stay in Boston and with the weather there instead of going to Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's interesting that because he doesn't have like a full no move or anything. The interesting thing with Ullmark is you can check that if you want to. the interesting thing is that, hearing of some players that nix trades to the teams that may be interested in them, and then you just leave a team like, say, Anaheim or San Jose off because you're like, well, why in the world would San Jose trade for me unless, teams make a big brain move to, because I think if a player gets traded, I'm not necessarily sure that you're actually able to keep a no movement or no trade clause intact, as with I guess the Dadonov one with Ottawa way back, that was a bit different.
I think it depends. I'm not I'm not super confident in all the fine print with all the no trade clause and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe if a team asks you to waive your no trade clause and you do go to that new team, the new team now has the option whether or not they're going to honor that trade clause. I believe, because I seem to recall when the Flames made the deal for Lucic there, the James Neal for Milan Lucic trade, that they were like, okay, we will honor Milan Lucic's no.
Oh, really?
I don't know why they would, but they did.
I mean, not like it was a very tradable contract, so it's just good PR to let the player stay. So
exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know if we really need to get much into the Panthers yet. Obviously, that team just overwhelmed Boston, and we can certainly get into that when we talk about the next round series. So moving forward, probably Rangers Canes.
Yep.
Man, I was really excited to see the Canes create a historical comeback. I think Rangers fans might have been sweating quite a bit up until Chris Kreider, who has been one of the most clutch guys for that team, leads them in all-time playoff goals. Man, he is a beast. And I mean, if there's one thing I can say about the Rangers, who are a team that I haven't really believed in like some other guys, their top guys have come to play. Shesterkin, when he's been on, he has won games for them. Their whole decor is really strong. And their forwards, they've been getting some clutch goals from Lafreniere, a guy who people labeled as a bust pretty quickly. Chris Kreider, Vincent Trocheck scored a huge double overtime game winner earlier on in that series. So they have some really clutch players, and they're always in their games, it seems like. So with the Canes, they're going to have a lot of, obviously a lot of contracts they have to go through, including if they're able to re-sign Jake Gensel. I wouldn't be surprised if they're basically willing to give him, within reason, something new. Obviously, they have a new general manager there, which, I mean, we don't have to get into that now, but or interim GM, I should say.
Yes, yeah, that broke today, I think, didn't it? Yeah, Don Waddell's retiring or stepping down.
He's resigning, and it seems like he could be in potentially to the Columbus job. Is what I saw. Yeah. But I mean, that would be. I mean, I'd certainly rather have him than a Ken Holland. But
100%. If you're Don Waddell, why would you go there? Like,
well, maybe he wants a new challenge, right? And if you get paid enough money, I mean, and you have good relationships, he also may not do the GM role. It could be like a president's role if John Davidson's stepping down, but. I mean, who knows about that? Getting back on track, yeah, Canes and Rangers. I thought that the Canes they had a pretty good shot, and then they blew it in that final game. It was on before the Canucks game 5, I believe it was, and I couldn't believe the meltdown that the Canes. Well, I could a little bit with Frederik Andersen. That I thought that some of those goals were pretty soft, and I don't know that he's going to be coming back to the Canes.
Yeah, I mean, Freddie was injured for most of the year, wasn't he? I don't think he played in that many games this season.
He finished the year.
He was out for a lot of it there, and I feel like that's been the story for Carolina for the last few seasons, hasn't it? Like, oh, we have good goaltending. Oh no, Ronta's hurt. Okay. Oh well, Freddie's back. Okay, no, he's hurt too. Oh well, we got the rookie guy there. He's got a complicated name. Oh man, I sound Kochetkov. Yeah, I sound like Tyler right now, not being able to pronounce.
You're in the ballpark, You're spelling your names out properly.
That's true. That is true. But yeah, no, I don't. I don't know if they go back to him, but like, who else could you get? I mean, they Markstrom. They could trade for Markstrom.
They could be in on him. They could be in on, as we said before, Ullmark, but that is interconference, so maybe you are looking more for a West. I think my guess is because this is how Carolina's done it before. I mean, they knew there's no way with the injury history that Ranta and Anderson had. They knew that they were getting these guys for cheaper deals. Yeah. They're quality goalies. They're Band-Aids. Yeah. That's why they cost that much. That's why you're able to get them there. So I think, moving forward, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, don't be surprised if Carolina next year with their defense, obviously they could be losing some guys, but they'll try to retain guys probably like Chatfield. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back. Yeah. They always have some young guys coming in. I don't think that Russian defenseman Nichushkin, I believe that's his name, Alexander Nichushkin, in the KHL right now, young, talented defenseman they drafted in the second round a couple of years back. I think he's probably still a year away till they bring him over, is what I had seen, is that the KHL, he's on SKA Petersburg, and so they wouldn't let him go because he's their captain over there as a 23-year-old defenseman. So, yeah, I mean, that makes sense. So they'll have to wait for him, but with Carolina's defense, they'll be able to find their value guys and find the guys that they have in their system. And then I wouldn't be surprised if it's a tandem, because they usually have a tandem for the most part, of their young goalie Kochetkov, probably their 45, 50 game starter. And then maybe depending on how they play, maybe them going after like an Anthony Stolarz in free agency. I'm a big Stolarz fan.
Stolarz has been good.
Maybe they want a more mobile goalie, but if you want to stay with cheaper, it's like, okay, injury prone or backup who hasn't got a chance to start more. So that's Stolarz is just a guy I like, and my guess is he'll probably be in a tandem where he gets a couple more starts. And what better way to have your numbers be boosted for another contract than playing behind that defense in Carolina.
Yeah, well, is Rod the Bod going to be back? I believe his contract is up.
He did over the last couple of days. He signed a 5-year extension.
Oh, okay,
so he will be back, which is interesting. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation as to whether or not if he needs to make adjustments to them just shooting the puck constantly as much as possible, and figuring out, can they get more quality chances? And I think having a guy like Jake Gensel as one of if they are able to extend him, I mean, he's been in the league for so long. He's a clutch player. I think that also just helps with how you want to play moving forward. If you invest in a guy like that, he's going to be one of the leaders there. Yeah. He'll be part of the players, the leadership group of that team, and Rod the Bod. They're going to be communicating because they're trying to win a cup. That's what at the end of the day what they're trying to do. So if they need to make adjustments, I think they may not get away from Rod may not get away from his system completely because they've been so successful. Yeah, but you can,
for the most part.
Yeah, but you can definitely tweak it. And if Eric Tulsky ends up getting the full-time position, because he should. He's tagged as the interim GM, but he's definitely capable of finding some good quality guys at good cap hits. So yeah, I mean, that's a little bit into Carolina. We'll continue on with the Rangers as they play the Panthers after we finish the Western Conference. Josh, if you want to take over, pick your series. Which you want to talk, Stars and Avs, or you want to talk Canucks Oilers? We can get into after maybe.
Let's go with the Central. Let's go Stars Avs there. That was an interesting series. Because first of all, I'd like to say I stuck to my guns. Tyler was trying to convince me to switch and pick the Avs in the last episode.
Yeah, and I was definitely with him.
He was roasting me a bit on it there, and I'm like, no, I'm gonna. Dallas is my cup pick to my Western Conference champions pick, and I stuck with them, and they proved me right.
We could totally have a counter of how many times we're getting like these very subtle jabs at that time in the last 4 episodes when Tyler said this or tried to pressure me into keeping Marner or something.
Absolutely. But I will admit, after that first game, I was a little worried again about my cup pick or my Stars pick, but But then they came out, they won 3 in a row. They looked great doing it. Colorado managed to win Game 5. I didn't think they were going to. I think they came back in that game, didn't they?
Well, I'm trying to pull up the series for this. So
okay, I think they were. I just remember I was following it, and I just I was looking at it, even after Colorado won Game 5. I'm like, no, they're done. They're not coming back from a 3-1 deficit there. And sure enough, they lost Game 6. And I love the Avs. They're one of my favorite teams.
Yeah.
And I don't think McKinnon is done winning championships yet.
Yeah.
I think they have a very good roster, depending who you're able to bring back. I think the funny thing is Georgiev wasn't the Achilles heel in the playoffs that I was expecting him to be.
Yeah.
He was fine.
I didn't think that he would be an issue for them. Like, no. I understand coming into it, he looked very shaky.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's a bad goalie. No. He's not a stud goalie by any means. He's no Jay Ottinger, but he's very capable with that team, getting them wins. I shouldn't say this without having my sources correct, but I heard someone say that he's a fighter. That's the kind of goalie he is. He's not the biggest goalie, but he fights for pucks. So if that kind of goes in terms of just how that leadership group is, the Makars, the McKinnons, even Landeskog wanting to get back in.
I hope he comes back.
Yeah, me too. I mean, who doesn't love Landeskog? I mean, even the women love this guy. Look at how handsome he is. He's the definition of a man rocket.
Absolutely.
So yeah, but and they're gonna have to figure out how to sign the Moose there, Mikko Rantanen. And see, because
that will be expensive.
Yeah, and that's just to clarify. That's not for this off season. That's for next year. Yeah. But you definitely want to start talking with him at July 1st.
Yeah.
Or maybe July 2nd after you're able to re-sign guys. But the thing is, Sean Walker, I saw he didn't have a really strong series there against Dallas. He may have been asked to do. Obviously they had Manson and Makar ahead of him, but he's a guy that maybe not overperformed. And I'm a big Sean Walker fan, but the moment that if Dallas was going to take advantage of a pair, it wouldn't be the Makar pair.
No,
might be the Manson pair with Gerard, but he's pretty strong. Yeah, you got to think it's that third pair. So, and then whatever when Colorado's top guys weren't necessarily out there. So, I mean, that's the thing is, like, Colorado was able to improve their depth, but losing a guy, especially like Nichushkin, that's a huge question mark. It seems like they don't have any grounds to terminate his contract. No. Nichushkin, it's the Nazem Kadri situation similarly all over again with Toronto.
Yeah.
We've had multiple years of issues of you in some way or form
getting yourself taken out of the series.
Yeah, not showing up. Yeah. And for different reasons for Nichushkin as well. Mm-hmm. Last year with I don't know
what happened, dude. He just kind of left.
Yeah,
very mysterious.
There's a lot of there's a lot of talks and rumors that it's probably not ours to talk about, and it basically, again, he got into something that probably shouldn't have, and it's or maybe he didn't, who knows, because maybe he was in a spot where he couldn't say much either, and then this was more of a substance abuse problem, I believe. At least that's
what it sounds like. It's something, because he's in the player assistance program. So
yeah, and for an extended period.
Yeah. Very well. That's because I think that was the stage 2. I think it was thing where you're
two or I think they have 4 stages.
3 or there's 3 or 4, and I think he got the point. I remember seeing the tweets about it from the reporters. Basically, it's a 6-month suspended without pay, I believe.
Yeah. Which I didn't realize that he would get paid not only after the playoffs but even in season.
Yeah. But then it's possible, and then after that time is done, he would be most likely allowed to come back.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think the next stage is 12 months suspended, and then re-entry is not guaranteed.
Right.
So hopefully he gets some of the help he needs and is able to come back and continue playing the NHL because he's a great player when he plays.
Yeah.
But if I'm Colorado, I'm looking to buy out that contract, I think, or trade him to like a team that can just like take the dead contract off him.
Well, gosh, honestly, for the impact player he's been, and I totally get you bringing up buyout, but I don't see how that contract, at least at this point, even next year, I just don't see you can buy out a guy like that, knowing like at that point you may as well either like do a Vegas mind trick and convince your guy he's hurt, LTIR him, or you that's a guy you just like, okay, we're gonna go through with the season and put him on a second or third line on his own, like just put him in a little bit less of a role, and I mean ideally just get him the help he needs, and you just have to give him another shot, and it's up to the player at this point. Like Colorado can't do anything. They're probably not gonna. That's a tough one. How many teams would be like, you know what? We just want to make the playoffs. We'll take Nichushkin for the regular season and assume that he, but that's the tough thing, is it's such a large contract and it's so uncertain that it could affect not just the playoffs, but it could be something that happens in season next year. If he has another offense. So that's a big thing where it's like, at this point, I would say, and I'm a huge Nichushkin fan as a player. He was huge for them in their cup run. Obviously, you know that, Josh. It's just a thing where it's on the player at this point, and if he can't sort himself out, then I think I would think at that point when it gets to if it's the stage 3 or stage 4, at that point you think the Avs might be able to. I don't know for sure. We'd have to look into this. There's a lot of things we have to look into, but we have to look into if he gets to stage 4, is that time for the NHL removes him or his contract gets terminated? Do the Avs basically able to get scot-off free because you invested in the player, you have the contract signed, but the player isn't able to be there to fulfill the contract and play? Yeah. Then that seems like a player issue to me, and I don't know how the NHL could take that out on the Avs.
Very easily. It's a weird league, and they punish teams for certain things and don't punish teams for other things.
That's it's valid.
Instead, they give them the first overall pick. Definitely wasn't rigged the other year.
Yeah.
But no. With Nichushkin there, I was just thinking, if that 6 month suspension, is that in the season? Because if it's in the season, like, okay, that's a lot of time. But if it just is a 6 month suspension from the NHL, just starting now, that you missed nothing. You missed the last few games of your team's playoff.
Yeah.
But then June, July, August, you're not doing anything. September, okay, yeah, you missed training camp and preseason, so he'd miss like what, a month of the season maybe?
I just went on my calendar on the laptop here. It just went up 6 months to basically last week, so like mid May. It looks like it would be mid-November.
Yeah,
would be 6 months. So he would be back in November or sometime next year if it goes by that, and not.
It would just be by calendar.
And even if not, like, I mean, if he's away, even if it was in season, is that just like a guy you can, like, does he count against your cap? Do you just basically say, well, 6 months that he's in the substance program of the NHLPA's program for that, and you say, well, take an extra month and we'll take you back in playoffs when so that's interesting. We can probably get away from that now. The Stars, it was game 5, you said, with the one that they Colorado would have came back there. It was they came game. It was 2-1. It was 2-1 midway through for Dallas. Cale Makar scores a late power play goal. And then Colorado scores 2 early in the third. Dallas tries to tie it, makes it 4-3. McKinnon late in the third makes it 5-3. So it was a comeback. They were battling from behind in the first and in the second, but it was a pretty close game for the most part. So in Dallas, I guess you could also mention. And then game 6 was double overtime. So I think that one kind of happened subconsciously, where I wasn't even realizing that it went to double OT.
I had forgotten about that. Yes.
Matt Duchene.
The goal that they should have. Man, if I'm a Stars fan, if the Avs come back, win game 6, and then go on to win the series, if I was a Stars fan, I'd be furious, and rightly so. If Sabres fans would be very amused about it, but that first goal should have counted. Like, I turned on the TV. I was like, oh, it's going into overtime. Let's check it out. I turned it on. They score. I'm like, oh, well, that was fast. And then I watched as they review it. I'm like, that's going to count, right? Like, there's no way this shouldn't count. He gets nudged into the goalie by Makar. Mm-hmm. And he's out of the blue paint the entire time. Like, that's a goal all day. And I think what it is the officiating the league there. They don't want to have an impact on the game, and they're like, "Oh crap, we can't end a series with a review like this."
Right.
And in doing so, they potentially have a huge impact on the game. Thank God Dallas won that game because they deserved to.
It's like it has to be like a 90 to 100% clean goal. If it's like 80% clean, they're like, well, there could be some. Then it's like, no, we got to overturn it. Can't be a goal, regardless of how if it's like. Because when it comes to the goal reviews, it's like whatever the original call is, it should be like, you should almost be like, it definitely was this.
Yeah.
If it's like 50-50, the original call stands.
Yeah.
If people don't like it, original call, because that's what the call was on the ice.
100%.
The goal that gets scored, if there's any question, it can't be a goal. It's like the circumstance could change potentially with that. And I mean, even the Florida Panthers one, where I think Paul Maurice afterwards was like, yeah, that was a good call. It shouldn't have been a goal. That was the one where Panthers scored, got overturned for the Rangers. Panthers win the game anyways. It was 3-0. I think at the time it was 2-0.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's is it circumstantial that they call that? I know people have a lot of gripes with the refs, and I get it. Like, there are definitely some stuff where it gets like, okay, it seems like there's like a rule behind the original actual rules that no one knows about. So
no one, the league doesn't know what a lot of their own rules are, so that doesn't help things. But yeah, no, with reviews, it's all it 100% should be like, okay, this was the call on the ice. You need to be able to look at that and go, okay, we definitely made the wrong call to overturn it. Like, if you're looking at that and you're like, the call has to stand.
Yeah,
that's how a review should work. I think that's typically how they work. Where it's okay, there's not enough evidence to overturn it. Okay,
till there's stakes in the playoffs.
Exactly, yeah. Because that one, I looked at that because it was no goal. It was the original call.
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, well, they challenge it. And I look at the review like, yeah, there's enough evidence that these should be able to overturn it.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't. And, I do really think that's the league trying to be like, oh, crap, we don't want to have an impact in the playoffs. And then unintentionally just have a huge impact in the playoffs.
Yeah.
It's not, just call the game. Just call the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you end a series on review, as long as you get the call right, who cares?
Yeah,
because you know what happens if the call gets overturned and the Avs lose that way. Avs fans are probably pretty upset in the moment. You know what they do the next day? They go, yeah, you know what? That was probably the right call.
The reasonable ones, yes.
Yes.
There were on every. We should have a disclaimer that I'm sorry if you let a handful of fans either on Twitter or a handful of fans that are rioting in the streets. That's not all Vancouver fans. That's not all Toronto fans. That's not all fans of any Canadian market. That's not all the fans in Colorado. That's not all the fans in Dallas. Like, this is just, there will be poor fans in every area that make an entire fan base look bad. I think that happened with, there was a guy that, like, in the Vegas Dallas series. I don't.
Last banger?
Yeah, I don't. Well, there was someone that got punched like after a game, like basically assaulted outside the arena. I want to say it was a Vegas fan on a Dallas fan in Dallas. But again, it's like, yeah, that it's the individual's actions. It's not all Vegas fans. I know. You know what? You can hate. I'm doing quotations. You can hate Vegas is a team and their management and certain actions are just their team because the NHL gifted them a Stanley Cup, whatever. It's not like, it's individuals' actions punishable. It's unfortunately it does reflect on a whole fan base.
It does.
It shouldn't, but it does.
It shouldn't, but it does. I mean, I kept seeing, especially not as much now, but in the first round, I swear after like every Oilers game, a new video would come out about Oilers fans attacking each other. You're winning. Why are you beating each other up?
How does that happen?
I don't know, but it kept popping up on my Twitter feed. Every time I'm like, how many times are you just gonna fight each other? Like, what are you doing?
They're practicing being Canucks fans when they lose either this round or against the Panthers next round.
Exactly.
Spoilers to who I think my cup pick will be.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, let's do Canucks Oilers. How about that?
Sure. Yeah.
Do you want to start that, or do you? How about I'll start because I'm the Canucks fan, and if you want to pull up some of the stats of some of the last games, there's a ton of people getting on about the whole shot volume thing. Yes, you cannot win games consistently with or very often with less than 20 shots. It's like the complete opposite of. It's interesting. Like game to game, it's not like you're more likely or less likely. Like maybe history shows that the team that outshoots the other team wins more, or the team that if you get 30 plus shots, you're more likely to win. It's like Canes take that seriously to get 60 shots a game. If each game is different. If Mikheyev instead of hitting the post in Game 7 doesn't hit the post, if he hits the goalie's pad, it's a shot on goal. There's no difference in the fact that he didn't score.
Yeah.
There's a small area. There are tons of talented guys that either couldn't bury that or would bury that. Unfortunately, Mikheyev, who has been one of the most snake-bitten guys, people talk about the 4-minute power play. That's so much pressure in your home barn. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't, like, they obviously needed to be better than they were there.
Yeah.
There's a total, it shows a total amount of inexperience that the Canucks have in those situations. It happens, just as much could go into the fact that obviously, and I'm a big Mikheyev guy. I hope that he figures this game out. It might not be there's a good chance that the Canucks will they're going to try and move that contract probably.
You should.
Because, and at the same time, if he comes back, what are the chances that this guy, who is a good hockey player, he had some good plays in this playoff. The difference was like 1 goal in 60-something games. Like, it's just not good enough for a guy who's making 4.7. 5 goals is barely enough for that guy, even if he has everything else, right? Full defensive game, penalty killer. He's not the most physical guy for his size. I mean, if he buries that could be a completely different game too. It could give the life into the team. I think that was before the 4-minute power play. They could have had the Mikheyev goal and then the 4-minute power play. The team has the confidence knowing that it's okay if we don't score here because we're already up 1-0.
Yeah.
Not that you want to have that mentality, but it's a lot better than like, holy crap, we have a 4-minute power play. We've played trash this whole period, and now we have this gift right on our lap. We need to score. And the best chance is Connor Brown getting a breakaway. Thankfully, Shelov's made a big save, or you could say Connor Brown hit him in the chest. Either or. Yeah. And I mean, and just as much, I didn't put too much into it before. The Game 6, that's also not a good enough effort from the team. Like, that game was basically like, at any point in that game, you could have been like, well, at least there's Game 7. Which is not the right mentality for any team to have. You think Avs or Stars or Golden Knights who were down 3-2 in their series, well, actually, that wouldn't work because the Stars were up. So they were not in the same position. But teams in Game 6 is just as important, if not more important than Game 7. Because as Tyler always says, Game 7, anyone's game. So the moment the Oilers win Game 6, it's anyone's game. But Game 6, the Canucks just show up with a better effort. It wasn't good enough, but I'm also not going to be too harsh in terms of, like, the Oilers, if they don't win this series, I'm not saying Draisaitl gets moved, but obviously, whoever the GM is, it probably won't be. I think Ken Holland's moving on after this year.
That's too bad. I liked having Ken Holland as the Oilers.
I do too. That would be ideal for him to stay. But whoever the GM is, they would have had a lot more bigger questions about the series. I think they would have had bigger questions about how the team is built moving forward. If you lose to the Canucks, but if you lose to the Stars, which they're obviously up 1-0 right now in the series, if you lose to the Stars, they are the favorite. Also depends how they do in the finals. At the end of the day, you just try to see what you're going to do to make your team better. The Oilers, though, for being in this situation, they've been this deep before. McDavid and Draisaitl have the pressure on themselves to win the cup that much. The Canucks, this is their first run.
Yeah.
Oilers, obviously, everyone picked them to win the series because they were the favorite. They have the top 2 players in the world, top 3 or 4 players potentially in the playoffs. And that's, I mean,
I have like the top 4 goal scorer or point scorers.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is just stupid.
I mean, if you lose that series and that's happening, how does that not describe the fact? Maybe not that you don't have depth, but like the fact that you were carried by 4 guys.
Yeah.
Could the Oilers win a series with those guys not going? It's like probably not.
No,
at least not the way with how Skinner had played, and hopefully he is able. Well, Oilers fans' sake, hope he continues to improve as he had looked a lot better in Game 1 against the Stars. The Oilers had the pressure to win this series. They've been in this situation before, and they did it. Kudos to them. The Canucks know they need to be better. The management is probably not happy that they had a 3-2 series lead and lost it and had almost looked like no effort in Game 6, and Game 7 was, Canucks fans, you can argue whether it was 7 minutes that they played well, 1 period that they played well, half the game they played well. None of that 60 minutes. It's not good enough.
Exactly.
And they still had a chance to win that game, and they made Oilers sweat. And I think Canucks fans,
that would have been funny.
Yeah, it would have been hilarious.
Oilers would have started and ended the series blowing a 3-goal lead in the 3rd period in Rogers Center.
It would have been so satisfying.
Rogers Arena, sorry.
No, you're good. Yeah, I mean it would have been so satisfying. I was hoping it was going to happen, especially obviously like that one. I think it's whether it was TSN or ESPN, like 23 out of 20
Oilers except for one person. So I loved seeing that list get posted every time the Canucks won.
Yeah,
they'd be like all the ones that got crossed off, Oilers in 5, and it's the Canucks are winning the series. Like nice.
And fans making memes of that one person that did like this one person is the chosen one.
Yeah,
they picked the Canucks to win the series, and they could have. They had the shot. For me, how I personally feel as a Canucks fan, I obviously want to see them beat the Oilers.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to seeing how, and I think the difference with this, like how Canucks fans can look at this moving forward. And you know what, we can also, if Tyler's here and he can get into how he says that the Canucks are going to be the Leafs of the West, and how PD's going to be Marner. I will have my disagreements with him. Obviously, PD did not look well. He had a knee injury. I don't want to spend too much time because we still want to get into all of this. But looking forward, Canucks fans, you can be feeling good that this management team built this team up. And if they re-signed no one except Tyler Myers, which before the season, if you had said that, they're going to lose everyone they acquire this year, and they're going to acquire Zadorov and Lindholm. The only one they're going to resign is Tyler Myers. And I would still feel confident in this management group to find guys. Yeah. It's not going to be easy. They may not have they may not end up being in a Game 7, round 2 next year against the Oilers or a top-notch team or whatever. But moving forward, it's promising, and it's a lot better than the situation they were in a year.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it didn't help too for Game 7 that your leading goal scorer Brock Besser isn't playing.
Yeah,
and that sucks because that was blood clots, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that's not even like something where he got hurt in Game 6,
and he can't play. It's not something he can play through it.
No.
It's not even a broken leg. Yeah. Which you can like freeze or something.
Exactly. Yeah, because NHL players are stupid and they're like, cracked chest, yeah, that's fine. I'll play through that.
Yeah.
But no, it sucks if you're a Canucks fan because it's like, man, we were this close to moving on to the Western Conference Finals. But at the end of the day, you look at the season you had last year and then this, and you go, that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it obviously would have been nice to keep going for sure. Sucks losing to a divisional rival like Edmonton. Speaking from experience, it's not fun.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, that's something you can look back on the season and go, that was a successful season. And now you got to see, can they re-sign these guys? Like, who are they going to re-sign? How much are they going to pay for all those guys there? I mean, Lindholm looked great in the playoffs. 5 goals, 5 assists in 13 games. Excellent.
Yeah.
Zadorov had himself one hell of a playoffs.
Was outscoring for points McDavid after 6 games. So I think it was 5 games because obviously McDavid went off game 6. So, but yeah, I mean, that's pretty wild.
Here, actually, a number jumped out on me. I'm just Zadorov. 13 games played, 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points. Great. +3. Hey, that's pretty nice. 26 penalty minutes.
Wow.
The next highest Canuck was Dakota Joshua and Vasily Podkolzin with 10. How the hell did Podkolzin have 10 penalty minutes? He played 2 games.
Yeah, that's wild. He must have been in a scrum probably.
God, but
I don't remember it, but he must have. Like,
he
wasn't in 2. If he was in 2 fights, we would have known. So he was probably just one of the guys taken out as a scrum. Like, it
must be those guy. Yeah. But
so,
no, it'll be interesting to see who they decide to re-sign there because.
And I'd like to talk about it sometime, but it's intriguing. Like, Lindholm looked great. I think the Canucks, from the sounds of it, I think the Canucks want to. He might be at the top of their list.
He should be their biggest priority to resign.
But the question is, how much the playoff series obviously makes it so it's like he's still like a top-notch shutdown center, and his regular season totals suggest that maybe this guy shouldn't get paid like a 1C, should be a 2C on the market if every team has a chance to get this guy. If it's a 7-year deal, is it 8.5? Like, Bo Horvat got 8.5 for 8 years. Miller at the time of his contract got 7 times 8. Those are guys that we're seen as 1, 2, like kind of in the same area, different style of players, but same area.
Yeah.
Obviously, people are going to go, he shouldn't make more than Miller, but it's like the cap's going up even more. I would be surprised if the Bruins weren't going to still be interested in a guy like Lindholm with their center situation. So we'll see how that goes. I think the one thing that the Canucks do have to their advantage, and they could also use it as a trade option for some of their guys, mainly just Lindholm because he's probably looking at a long-term deal.
Yeah.
You have the 8th year. That could, it's not nice, but if you want to keep the guy, I wouldn't be surprised if it's with the 8th year and it keeps the cap hit down.
Yep.
If he's okay, if he really likes Vancouver, maybe this is a discount, maybe this isn't. People are putting out the 6 number. My dad's putting out the 6 to 7 number. I'm like, it's probably at least 7. If he originally wanted 8 and wouldn't take it in Calgary, maybe he just did want to be in Calgary. But if he was like, I'm happy with 8 times 7 on the market, maybe he's happy with $7 million for 8 years. Maybe that brings it down to the 6.5 if he really wants to take a discount. But it would still be with 8 years, or it's 7 years and it's 7.5. Like, I would be surprised if it's not in the 7 range. And I know he didn't have a great season, but it's just the market for centers is wild.
100%.
There's not a lot of guys like him that you can get for free on the market. So.
Like, exactly, because he didn't have a great regular season, and his season last year also wasn't very good. But I think you look at that and you go, okay, well, the season before that, no one was good on Calgary. You had Daryl Sutter there who just made everyone feel like crap.
Exactly.
Like no one had a good season.
Yeah. If you're telling me this guy can't put up 70 to 80 points with Pasternak on his wing,
exactly.
You're crazy.
No, exactly. Because you then this season, Calgary once again not that good of a team. Lindholm not having a great year. Made the All-Star team somehow, which was very funny. He should have made it way earlier than that with the Flames, because before that he was great.
Yeah,
he was great with Calgary.
Yeah.
But
Surprised it wasn't, especially with like the lack of defensemen. I probably would have guessed Uyghur.
Oh, Uyghur should have gotten it, or Coleman. Coleman had like a 30-goal season.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was gonna suggest Coleman, but people probably would have just been like, "Why is Blake Coleman and Boone Jenner there?" It just would have been that all over.
Blake Coleman's great,
but like that's I like it when there is the odd guy like that. Yes. It's more so just when certain guys aren't there. It's probably, but there are guys that want to enjoy their mid-season stuff, and some guys. Yeah, I think it's
like Kucherov.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's a weird one.
Oh man.
Yeah, let's get back on track. Anything you want to add on the Canucks Oilers, or is that pretty much that?
For the series as a whole, no. I think it was I think it was a good series, a very entertaining series. From the few bits that I watched, I was true to my word. I didn't watch a ton of it because, again, that's my two least favorite teams. Mm-hmm. But the moments that I did watch and following the series is very entertaining. And it'll be interesting to see what the Canucks do in the offseason, and I hope the Oilers lose.
Yeah. Oh, I will say before we move on, I am sorry you don't get a third.
Yeah, I know. We were one game away from a third-round pick instead of the fourth.
Actually, even one goal. Well, two goals but yeah, you get what I mean. Is it? I was meaning to double check this the other day, but is it a fourth, or is it just no pick at all?
It's a fourth. Yeah, fourth.
Okay.
So it's not like we get nothing. It'll be a lot worse if we got nothing.
I mean, a third or fourth round pick. It's still
not much.
It's like the third. It's the third best piece in that trade, arguably. I'm bigger on it than I think a lot of people are, because historically the Flames have been very good within the last decade or so of drafting in like the mid rounds there. And you want as many picks.
Exactly. At least because at the worst case scenario, you use it on a guy and he does nothing. But it's another shot you can take, or it's something that you can then trade yourself to move up in the draft or get someone else. It's just more assets. So it's something. It's useful. How useful will it be? Odds are not very.
Yeah,
but better than nothing.
Yeah.
So, but no, it'll be interesting for that draft there with all the. See what they do.
Yeah. I mean, what gives you most excitement and hope as a Flames fan is if within a year or two, I mean, and this is again because personally I thought that just for how your team was looking for the future, that, and I understand you have guys on long-term deals. Maybe you're looking at it being a potential quick retool in a year or two. You ideally would like to maybe sell on some guys, not all. Or sell what you can to get the cap space for like we said, how valuable cap space is before the pod.
Yeah.
And then draft picks, right? Can you get as many draft picks like an Arizona has, now Utah, Montreal has over the last couple of years? That's what you want. It gives your fans hope. And again, like you said, you can use it. You don't have to use them. You can use them for literally whatever. You can, trade them for other pieces.
Draft picks are just magic beans, pretty much. And it was always kind of funny when like a team trades a pick and then the team that they traded that pick to hits on it and gets a great player. Like, for a good example, the Canucks traded the pick that the Flames used to draft Rasmus Anderson.
Yep.
And it, as a Flames fan, very funny, but like also I feel like it's a lot less discredit to the Canucks because they didn't know who was going to be available. They didn't know who they were going to take there.
Especially when it's not a first.
Yeah, exactly. It's a lot more credit to the team that got the pick of hitting on that pick.
Yeah.
So,
and I mean, if you want to have the argument that, hey, a Swedish defenseman, the Canucks would have taken a Swedish defenseman in the second round. It's very possible, right? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's a later round. It's anything past the first round, it's like, I mean, maybe second round. But again, a second round, it's like anyone that argues that, oh, why didn't any team take Alex DeBrincat? Every team had a chance to take Alex DeBrincat, and he's a small guy that could score, and teams were like, nah, we don't want small guys that can score because they're not 6'3" and 200 pounds. What if the guy plays like that? And I think DeBrincat has more to his game. I know he's been kind of streaky the last couple of years. He's still a very talented scorer, and a lot of teams probably should have taken him at some point.
So I think with DeBrincat, though, he just haven't been playing on that great of teams. Is the main issue.
Yeah, and maybe not in the right spot, right?
Yeah.
All right, moving on. We're at where are we at here right now? We've done pretty good, 50 minute mark or so. So we got some time here to talk. I mean, there's only so much to talk about. There's the 2 series of the of round of this following round, and I mean, only 1 game has been played so far. As you said, we have Panthers Rangers tonight.
Yep.
As we're recording this will probably be out a day or two after, and we'll be talking about game 3 on Sunday for these teams, right? So at least for where the series is at right now, pick a series you'd like to talk about, Josh, and maybe if you want to get into one, I'll get into one, and basically see where we see the series going.
Yeah, all right. Well, I'll stick out west then and talk about the Stars and Oilers series, because Oilers with a big win in game 1, their double overtime was it, I believe?
Yep.
They needed that one. That's going to be a very fun series, because Oilers haven't had to face a goalie like Jake Ottinger yet. They faced Cam Talbot and Dave Riddick in round 1. I'm a big Dave Riddick fan. It's well documented.
Mm-hmm.
But those are average NHL goalies.
Yep.
Like nothing special. Artur Silovs played great in the series against the Oilers, but that was, let me see here, he played 10 games in the playoffs this year and 4 games in the regular season, I believe.
Yeah, he has like 10 NHL games total.
Exactly. Like it's not a ton of NHL experience there.
Yeah.
So good on him for stepping up, but again, the Oilers aren't facing like some huge goalie star. They're facing good young goalie, but
yeah. Now
they are facing Jake Ottinger.
Yeah.
And he is, in my opinion, top 5 goalie in the league. He has been excellent this playoff. He's put up some great numbers. He's never had a bad game. He's been either good or great, I would say.
Yeah.
And even like the Oilers need to win when he's good, which is tough. Because when he's good, he's still like an excellent goalie.
He's a .921 save percentage last night. That's really good.
That's great. They beat him when he was great. They got lucky.
Yeah.
And Dallas, I just think they got excellent depth there. Pavelski, who I think I talked about in like the first episode or so, he has been one of the best playoff performers over the last decade or so. He hasn't done much.
Yeah, he's been a little quiet.
Which I hope that's not Father Time catching up, because Joe Pavelski is one of my favorite players. He's probably my favorite. I think he honestly, for like the last decade or so, he's been my favorite player that's not on the Flames.
Yeah.
He's just so incredibly good. It'll be great to see him win a cup, hopefully. But we'll see if he can get it going, because if he gets it going, that's just another weapon they can have.
Well, on Hockey Reference, just a quick note on Pavelski, which is really interesting here, is the last 2 games, both that have gone to overtime, he's been at 24:45, so 25-minute mark, 26:04 against Colorado. And he had 1 assist in that 2-1 win. So he was one of the guys that was in part of that game. And he also, in the game that they lost 5-3, that Colorado was fighting from behind up until the third, he had 2 points that game.
Yeah.
So in 2 games that the team scored 5 goals, he had 3 points. So at least in like recent, it's like he's been a part of stuff. He hasn't scored the big time goals so we've necessarily seen. But Dallas is a lot deeper. Like you said, is this guy now? This is the reason that they are the favorite, even against a team like Edmonton that's been with these top guys for so long. The reason Dallas is the favorite here is, like you said, they're so deep.
Pavelski is the best.
Pavelski could be playing pretty well here, playing lots of minutes, and he's not the storyline.
No,
there's just so many guys that could be. Duchesne, who. I've been harping on Duchesne for so long. I'm like, part of the reason that I thought Dallas was overrated by most people, like, cup favorite for a lot of people. I'm like, well, they have guys like Shen or Sagan, Ben. I moved them into one. They could make a Shen. Ben and Sagan and Pavelski, or not Pavelski. He's no way. Duchesne, just guys that I thought were a bit streaky. Is their defensive game there? Arguments they've had in many years. Are they slowing down? Was Duchesne ever really a playoff guy in the first place? when there's just so many talented guys and good players on a deep roster, coached by Peter DeBoer.
Yep.
This is a great team. And
DeBoer, I think, how long has DeBoer been there? Because DeBoer always seems to go on at least one cup run with his team. They don't always win, but he always takes them to the cup final.
Yeah, over the last 5 years, DeBoer's been on like 3 teams that have gone to the West Finals. I think I saw it. It was 5 or 6 years that he's been on 3 separate teams. So one was San Jose.
San Jose really went to the cup finals, yeah.
Yeah, and then Vegas.
They went to, he was with, I believe he coached New Jersey in, was it 2012 when they lost to the Kings?
Yeah.
It was 2012 or 2014.
I think you're right there.
But he was definitely the New Jersey coach. That for that season they went on their cup run. But no, they got the, like, just look at some of their stats there, and obviously none of them are jumping off the page as much as like the Oilers with like McDavid and Draisaitl. Like, I think Draisaitl is like 26 points. McDavid's got 19, which is just 19 points in 13 playoff games for
that's still incredible.
It's incredible, and it's that we look at that and go, oh, McDavid's kind of been slow this playoffs. Yeah. Like,
it's who you're comparing him to, right? It's like Bouchard's right with him, and Draisaitl's a little bit ahead of him. So that's why it's like, well, McDavid's the greatest player. How come Bouchard and Draisaitl? Those guys have been great. I will say, the year that you're referenced to with DeBoer, he was the head coach of New Jersey. Yeah. It also says here on Elite Prospects that he was the franchise owner of the Oshawa Generals. So he was owning the Oshawa Generals while he was head coach of the Devils. So that's intriguing. And then, Sharks, when they went on their run, and then
what a nice to win that one.
And then fired after a poor start, and then mid-season hired by Vegas in 2019-20, and then Dallas. Dallas. This is second year at Dallas, so
this is
back-to-back years they've been there.
Yeah, so I think though with their like Heiskanen and Robertson both have 13 points in 14 games. That's incredible. Yeah, your boy Wyatt Jonathan there has got 7 goals in 14 games for 11 points.
Yeah,
he's become like a folk hero for the Stars fans there.
Yeah.
But even like I wasn't expecting this much production out of these guys. Tyler Seguin, 5 goals, 5 assists, 10 points. He's a +8. Like a plus minus is a bit of a weird stat. I'm not a huge fan of it. +8 for Tyler Seguin is something.
Yeah, and even you can argue with that too. Is like some guys have their plus minus inflated or deflated because of, say, even like empty net goals. If there's 2 things, I'm not sure that Seguin's necessarily the top guy they go to when they're down by a goal.
No.
But even though like he is that guy, so what it tells you with the plus minus even there is, even if he was like a plus player at +8 and he's not on the ice for many goals against, even when they have the lead, they're defending a lead, he could be out there defending leads too. So it shows that like the coach shows trust even in these guys who, maybe at one point were seen as one-dimensional players. So I mean, credits to DeBoer and for having a trust in pretty much all his guys. I mean, last night I never would have expected that Seguin would have 2 of the goals, and even guys like Dadonov were part of that. Dadonov and Jamie Benn. So, I give a lot of heck for those guys, but at different times they've gotten different heroes. They're just going to need a little bit more heroes, I think, for scoring, because they aren't. We've seen a lot of their guys are pretty close in scoring, but they haven't had a lot of scoring compared to the other teams that are like the Rangers and the Panthers and the Oilers. They haven't had quite the same scoring.
No, but they haven't needed it as much.
Yeah, that's true, right?
They just don't allow that many goals.
Yeah, built from the back end, right?
So exactly. I mean, like Andre, the playoffs has a .919 save percentage, of .210 goals against average, which is excellent.
Yeah.
Also helps, which, again, I'm going to shout my boy out, Chris Tanev, on the back end. They're holding the fort. He's a +6 in 14 games, and he's averaging 23 minutes and 49 seconds of ice time per game. Like, he is holding it down back there.
Yeah, and I mean, to be fair, like before this last game, he was a +8. Him and Lindell were a -2 last night, but they played 25 minutes, and Lindell with 28-20 last night. Like, that's... with compared to Heiskanen is at 33 minutes and even. So, I mean, incredible against a team like Edmonton, right? So, yeah, I mean, that defense, Tanev and Lindell, maybe they got exposed. But again, like Edmonton's guys that scored last night, it was Draisaitl, Hyman, McDavid.
Yeah.
Like,
that's the big guys.
That's what they need to do.
Yeah. If their big guys aren't scoring, they're not winning any games.
Yeah. So, you know what? It's fine if you get the clutch scoring when you need it. They can. Edmonton, they're not my prediction, but they're definitely capable of beating Dallas. It's just going to be hard if it's always going to be reliant on those guys. If Dallas can play Edmonton like they played Vegas and get really physical with them, I think that you can definitely wear down this Oilers team. If they're not getting any secondary scoring.
Oh, 100%. And this is a Dallas team who, with, again, guys who haven't been, they're missing some of their key, well, no, maybe not key contributors, but like I said, we were saying before, Pavelski was only 4 points in 14 games.
Yeah.
Like Thomas Harley, 14 games, only 2 assists there. He's a +5, playing 24 minutes, 46 seconds a night. But that's a guy who in 79 games this season, 15 goals, 32 assists, 47 points. Like, he's good. He's got some offensive upside. He's been a great player for him.
Yeah, he played 26-54 last night.
Like, if they can get some of those guys going, look out.
Yeah,
they're doing that with some of the better players playing just quietly.
Yeah.
So
I think that tells me, and I could be wrong, but that would tell me that they're probably scoring a lot more goals. And again, if even at like highlights that I remember seeing, it's a lot more down low with Dallas. They're relying on their forwards down in the corners. They're probably not using their point as much. They're probably not scoring a ton off the rush. It's mostly been down low, wearing teams down that way. So. Yeah, I mean, they'll see if Harley and see if he can. But I mean, even player and played big minutes as a really young defenseman. Then, if Dallas wins this year, you'd like to see offensive production from even a guy like him. But he's also a defenseman, and if he's playing really strong defensively with Heiskanen, and they're able to play half the game and shut down the best players in the world. I mean, that's all you, again, as we've said, that's all you really need to do against Edmonton, at least Edmonton, it seems, right? So, yeah, we'll see how the rest of the series goes. I wouldn't be surprised if you have a similar prediction to me. What do you think about where the series goes? Who wins?
Man, before it started, I had said Dallas in 5. Now, part of me wants to stick to that prediction. I'm going to change it slightly, though, to Dallas in 6.
Yeah,
because I figured that Edmonton would win 1 game.
Yeah,
but I didn't think it'd be the first game. I thought Dallas would come out, probably take the first 2 at home. Maybe Edmonton wins 1 at home. Dallas gets the split. They go back to Dallas. They win it. That's what I kind of saw happening.
Yeah,
I think because the Oilers are able to take game 1, I think Dallas comes back. They win game 2. Probably is 2-2 after the 2 games in Edmonton. I think Dallas just closes it out after. I think they go home and win. They go on the road and win again.
Well, interesting that you say that. I think originally beforehand, most people even looking at it, maybe the general consensus would have been that both of these series are going to be best of 7, or even me thinking to me it's like Dallas for sure and Florida for sure. For me. But even looking at how Edmonton played, and I think that with how much that team has been through, I wouldn't be surprised if they can get it to a game 7.
Yeah.
So you know what? I won't do the same as you. I'll pick Dallas in 7. But I think the only reason will be because Pete DeBoer doesn't lose in game 7. So, yeah. But we'll see. I mean, it's going to be an interesting series. I definitely am with you that maybe there were some people that could have seen like thinking that, well, Dallas is just a better team, and if they take a couple in Dallas and then Edmonton's down and they lose one at Edmonton. But Edmonton took the first game in Dallas, double OT. That's not easy to do at all.
No.
Yeah, and I think Edmonton's definitely going to, in terms of the favorites in this series, I think they're going to punch above their weight, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I will say Dallas in 7. But yeah, I think Dallas got it. Florida Rangers. I'll take it for a bit here, and yeah, I think as I said a couple times, people might have not caught it. I am rooting for the Panthers, and I'm biased because I'm not as much into the Rangers, and I don't really believe in them as much. And I thought that there was going to be the Canes here, but they've gotten here. I'll give some love to the Rangers. I think their top guys have been pretty clutch.
Yep.
Similar in a way to Edmonton, and that's not me saying that the Rangers don't have depth. They do have depth. I think they have more depth than the Oilers do, and a better defense and a better goalie.
Oh, 100%.
So if you said that logic and said, well, Edmonton is a team that's in the top 4, and like you think the Rangers are overrated, Aaron, it's like, you know what? No, as the Rangers have continued to clutch up and score big time goals, especially against a team like the Canes, they're showing that they're very capable of winning a Stanley Cup this year. But even after game 1, it's easy to look at that game 1 and be like, well, the Panthers just dealt with them, clean up, do the hand swipe, and that'll be it. It won't be a sweep. It won't be in 5. I'll say Panthers in 6. I'll say my prediction early there. I just think the Panthers are the better team. The one thing I will give no, I don't even know if I can give them, because I think Bob now, I think he's regaining his form. I don't know if he had it earlier on, and easy to say that after he puts up a shutout. But I think that Bob's finding his form. So now it's a little bit more even than I may have saw with how Shesterkin's played this playoffs. And obviously, you had a couple tough games against Carolina at the end of last series. They still won the game. They won Game 6. And Shesterkin, I mean, Carolina was going to put up a fight in those games. They didn't want to get swept, especially after what happened last year. And we're going to have back-to-back playoffs getting swept.
Yeah.
And with the guys like Gensel and how good, I've already fanboyed the Canes enough. The Rangers, Shesterkin, they're going to be fine. And they got a good team, and they're going to get some clutch goals. I think there is a chance the Panthers do take them out in 5. I think the Rangers will definitely put up their best fight that they can, and they will manage to win a couple games. But I think the Panthers got it. I'm obviously a huge Panthers guy as well. I had Canes going over them, but the way they've played, they're showing that, like, this team, now that they're healthy, unlike last year, their top guys, it's like they can't be stopped.
Yeah.
And easy to say that about any team that's running hot, but this team dealt with Tampa in 5. And you guys, and even myself, kind of nonchalantly thinking like, well, Tampa will put up a fight. They obviously did. It's still a 5-game series. And then they play Boston, and I was kind of surprised it went to 6 games.
Yeah, that one.
In terms of how even the games that Boston won, like Panthers were in it and could have beat them those games. So, and those are really tough teams too, like physically tough.
Oh yeah.
And strong defensively and great goaltending. And Panthers are like, 6 games. Like, these aren't 7-game series. And, I think that maybe to be fair, the Rangers are a better team than the Lightning and the Bruins. And I would have said that. So maybe that's why I say it's going to go to 6. But yeah, I think it's Panthers. You can take this over, Josh. That's all I got.
Yeah, well, I was just looking up the stats there. Bob has certainly brought his stats up there since the start of the playoffs. He's now got a .910 save percentage and a .217 goals against average, so he's been playing a lot better.
Are you like on him? Does it have like his last couple games or so?
I can see if it does.
That's what I'd be curious about too. Is...
here we go. Last 5 games. Last 5 games. 4 wins, 1 loss. 936 save percentage, 141 goals against average.
All right.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That is pretty good. But no, I mean, like Florida is just like I don't think they've had a series really at like so far where it's been like, well, crap, is Florida gonna lose? Like they mopped the floor with Tampa.
Yeah.
I guess the only moment so far would have been in game 1 against Boston where they got blown out like 6-1.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man, but that was more just kind of that was less of, man, is Florida bad? More of, man, is Boston actually like this good?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. And then they answered right back and went, oh yeah, no, never mind, no, Florida's got this wrapped up.
It's like they were pranking the fans. They're like, let's lose a 5-1 on purpose, and then let's go and take out Boston here.
Exactly. But they've gone through like some good goaltenders too, like Vasilevsky. I don't know if he was that great, but he's fine. It's like, his like historically been one of the best goalies.
He's a playoff goalie, right?
Over the last like 5-6 years at least.
Mm-hmm.
And then they went through Swayman, who was having a hell of a run, and now they're going up against Igor Shesterkin. So I don't think they're scared whatsoever. They shouldn't be. Like I like they won 3-0 game 1 there against the Rangers. I think the Rangers are a good team. I think they showed it in the series against Carolina that they were just kind of just picking up hard Freddie Anderson there.
Yeah.
But I don't see the Rangers winning this series at all.
So I'm going to tell you the save percentage for Vasilevsky and Swayman in the series they played against Florida.
Yeah.
This is interesting. So Vasilevsky was an .897 in 5 games.
Yep.
So they dealt with him. They weren't troubled by him. Olmark, it looked like he came in for one of those games. I think Swayman got pulled.
Probably game 2, yeah.
And so, which is interesting, for one of those games that Swayman got pulled, and he still ended up with a .917 save percentage. Swayman was on his game. Yeah. Like, it's just, it was not the, like, you know, Florida was fine just playing a game where they didn't have to score as much. They just beat Boston. They're like, yeah, you guys can be close, but not going to win. You guys aren't scoring against our goalie either, right? Yeah. And I mean, I can even go to Bob's stats that series. He was a .907. Like, Swayman was the better goalie that series, but man, what am I saying? Like, it's interesting. If that tells you something, you look at Swayman's save percentage, .917 save percentage, and yet Barkov in that series, 8.6 games, Reinhart, 6.6 games, Montour, 5.5 games, Lundell, 5.5 games, Tkachuk, 5.5 games, Rodriguez, 4.6 games. It's not like the Panthers couldn't score.
No,
they just peppered Swayman. So they outplayed Boston. Looking at it, like, Boston was kind of lucky to be in that series.
100%.
Yeah, that's 6 games, and even Game 6 being a 2-1 game.
I thought Boston was going to lose in 5. I wouldn't even been shocked if Boston got swept in that series.
Yeah,
but I know with Florida here, I mean, you got my boy Matt Tkachuk there leading the team. 5 goals, 11 assists for 16 points in 12 games.
Yeah,
both Barkov and Verhaeghe with 13 points in 12 games, and then you got 9, 8, 6, 5. Like, you got a lot of depth scoring there. Some of that coming from the Gustav Forsling and Brandon Montour. So they're getting some points off the back end.
Yeah, that's huge too. Is like a guy like Forsling and Montour. Like, I don't really know how they were last year, but I know Montour and Ekblad were both
sick.
Yeah,
Montour was so good last year.
Yeah, he was sweet last year. They were both fighting injuries in the playoffs. For sure, right?
It was impressive that he was doing what he was doing.
Yeah,
while being hurt.
Yeah, this team's so good. Yeah. Florida is so, and like, even like they have their top guys, and then even like in the depth, playing 18 minutes a night against the Rangers, Nico Mikkola.
Yeah.
A guy who played in St. Louis, now he's in Florida, just a tough defenseman. Kulikov, plays limited minutes, he'll get some blocks in there, play solid defensive minutes. So their top dogs are running it. And they got guys that play physical, in their depth too, right? So and Barkov, man, he is so. I'm glad that, like, this playoff run, he's definitely putting up the number. Did you have his points there in front of you?
5 goals, 8 assists, 13 points in 12 games. He's a +4.
So, and last year I don't believe he had a ton of points, and people were like, well, he's not really getting it, but. This guy, elite defensively. He was going to be the reason they got to the finals last year with all those injuries. He was pretty strong defensively. Now he's got this chemistry with Reinhart, and this team can just score. And now they got multiple of their top guys that can score and defend really well and play. So, like, yeah, we're, maybe we're not giving enough respect to the Rangers, but it's
probably not. But I think just Florida's just that good.
Yeah,
which is weird because they're going up against the President's Trophy winner.
Yeah.
But I think the Rangers. I think the Rangers could. I wouldn't even be shocked if the Rangers managed to just I think it would be Shesterkin that would have to really carry them through it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be shocked if the Rangers managed to win the series. But I don't have them winning the series. I think it'll probably be Florida in 6 as well.
Yeah.
But you know what? Just so it's something different, I'm gonna go Florida in 5. I'm going to go bold.
Oh, really?
I'm going to go Florida in 5. I think...
they didn't lose the first game like Dallas did.
No, that's Dallas' thing. They lose the first game and they come back and win the series.
Yeah.
But no, I think Florida's got this wrapped up here.
Respect for you saying in 5. A lot of people think that these are going to be 2 7-game series.
Could be.
But
I'm going bold here.
Yeah, I think Florida and Dallas are both showing that they're very capable, that people are really picking a lot of people are picking those 2 teams to win, and then I think there are some people saying the Rangers, and Rangers are a good team. Obviously, President's Trophy winners. Been 30 years since they won the Cup in '94. A lot of people with those correlations, and maybe they got it, but I think for the next, again, they have to win 4 of the next 6 games against the Panthers.
Yeah,
they're going to have to. And that was in New York too.
Yes.
So now it's not like they have the home ice advantage. Maybe that's good. They don't have that pressure. What they are going to have to do though is, I think they're just going to have to be tighter games.
100%.
They're going to have to be.
You can't let Florida play their game against you. You don't want to get dragged down into the mud with them, because they will kick the crap out of you.
Yeah.
And they'll get away with it. That's how they play. And it works.
Yeah. And if you're the Rangers, you just got to keep getting your looks, as many looks as you can. Try to fight. Get through Bob. He hasn't been unbeatable this playoffs.
Nope.
So
he's good.
Get the confidence. Get lots of chances, and then they again. Rangers are. I think if it goes to overtime, the Rangers are capable, and they may need to have a big game from Shesterkin, like we said. When it really matters in overtime, the Rangers are going to need to win those games if they're going to win the series.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's where we're at. Hour 17. Do you want to have any quick rundown? It's 11:35. I know we didn't have much time. We can talk about those on Sunday too, if you like, because the McDonagh trade and the coaches. We can talk about the coaches with.
I was gonna say, we could maybe very, very briefly touch on the new coach hirings there. On today, very, very briefly.
Yeah,
I'd like to talk a little bit about the McDonagh trade there.
Sure,
because I think it's funny that he's going back to Tampa. What is Tampa doing? Why do they want him back? It feels like the window is starting to close, and you should probably be trying to make sure your future, get more younger assets there, and you're bringing back Ryan McDonagh.
Yeah, I think the most interesting thing about that for me is just the cap hit.
Yes.
Now maybe part of that too is you can LTIR him, because that's another guy like a Tanev, like a Martinez, a guy who blocks lots of shots. You can say that he's sore and he's on LTIR.
Yeah.
Like the NHL, for his sake, sure, McDonagh, you're not playing. You're allowed to go there because he's got so much respect around the league. He's been with this Tampa team. He'll be that third guy on the left side. Obviously, it's a lot for a third guy. But if you have injuries, he can also play up. McDonagh, even at 34, I think is still a very capable defenseman.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's only for 2 more years. And at that cap hit, quite a bit, and at that age, quite a bit. But once again, guy you can throw on LTIR, and I think for them it was also just you could go and they weren't going to re-sign a guy like Dumba. No. Who on the market could they grab that wouldn't be in the 5 to 6 range? It's either you're talking about another Tanev who seems like. Is he going to make more than 5? Is he going to make a pretty big contract?
Good. Good. He's very
if he wants to, right? Yeah. Is it going to be there's Brett Pesce, Matt Roy, Zadorov, a couple Shea in Carolina, a couple of defensemen. In terms of the defensive style, it's like if you want, if your top guy is Brett Pesce, is he going to want, based on the year, or even just based on the fact that regardless of his age, he's right shot, and he's probably going to want a 6 or 7 year deal, and he's probably going to want $6 million, and that might even be too low for him if there's so many teams after him. So with McDonagh, even though he's 34, you won't have to overplay him because you do still have your other top dogs you're running, and it's only for 2 years. And I think he will give you, it maybe not at 6, but maybe he'll be a $5 million type defenseman, like still be able to play up to that. And that's what they're looking for. Someone that they know. And again, so there are things that they can work with here. And yeah, but I totally get what you're saying. Like ideally with a team like this, you want to get younger, you want to get cheaper. But I mean, even with like they tried doing that at the deadline, going after like a Dumba and a Duclair, guys that are, that wouldn't be paid as much on the market because of them, just bouncing around different teams and inconsistencies. They want a guy that is consistent. McDonagh is consistent.
He is.
He may not have that high level.
Yeah,
he's consistent.
But he knows their system too. Like it's not like he's going to be walking into something brand new. Like he knows who he's playing with. He knows how the style they play. So it may it's a good fit. It's just a little weird for where Tampa's at with their roster and their cup window. But
I think. And even with Hedman at 33, it's a bit iffy. Sergachev 25 coming into it. Vasilevsky and Kucherov still 29 and 30, .28. And then they got Hagel, Chiarelli, Paul, all in their mid-20s. They expect to be better, right? And they lost in 5 to Florida, who could be the Cup champs.
Yeah.
And it's a lot different than it being like a 6 or 7 game series. Ideally, maybe you want cap for depth. But also, improving your defense is a pretty big one. So
yeah, I wonder though with that, are they going to be able to re-sign Stamkos? Because
maybe you do that. So you say, hey, we were able to get McDonagh back here. You're probably confident and comfortable with McDonagh. You probably love him on your defense. He's costing us $1.5 million more. If you want $8 million on the open market, I don't know what Stamkos wants. Maybe he wants 9 or 10. But if it's like to come back to Tampa, you want 8. Stammer, will you take 6.5? Or will you take the same amount? Like, we need you at around that number to stay competitive or to continue to win. So yeah, I mean, that's an interesting one. I think that they'll be able to, like, I'm on Cap Friendly right now. So, and it should be it should have all these guys like the Stamkoses that are UFAs, they're off the books, and it shows their cap space. It says they have $5 million in cap space. So that's not good enough unless you're throwing someone in LTIR. You have 6 defensemen under contract. Do you move Connor Sheary at $2 million? That's only like a $1 million cap relief for who you got to replace him with. A lot of people talking about moving Chiarelli or Hagel. I don't see it.
No.
Yeah, to me it looks like you're going to have to get Stamkos at a major discount. Like that's pretty much it.
You could try and trade Tanner Jeannot. You won't get the return that Nashville got for Tanner Jeannot, but
No. And I think that there would be some interest in Jeannot at his age and his...
Oh, yeah, I mean, he's 26. He's got some potential. I mean,
2.6.
He watches people very well. So.
Yeah, you might get a second, maybe. Second, and maybe not that, right? Like, again, he's looking like maybe only a 4th liner now with how his offense fell off. But if a team likes him enough, and I think there are teams that'd be interested, I think they'd pay a second. It's expendable. Not that the Tampa would use it, but in terms of, we're just talking cap relief. So, yeah, Stamkos has to take a big pay cut to stay there, or somewhat big pay cut. We'll see what happens there. Even from Nashville's perspective, I think it's interesting. I know that they have the Duchesne buyout that's going to be coming up either this year or next year, that it jumps, kind of like the OEL for Vancouver.
Yeah.
But, I mean, and obviously we've talked, they could be trying to do something big. Maybe they do want Marner. Some say no, some say yes.
Says he hasn't talked to them yet.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
He also can't say that he has because that's like tampering.
Yeah, exactly. We'll see. Their defense now: Yossi, Shen, Fabro, Lauzon, 4 pretty solid guys. Garrah, they might have to re-sign. That's 5 pretty solid guys. You might want someone who eats a bit more minutes like McDonagh did, but again, maybe you also want to get younger with that. Maybe it's a Zadorov, maybe it's a Pesce if they want to replace like that. And then it's similar money in and out. Or you can, again, look to move for more scoring, and that's also what they probably should do with how their team is looking. Again, I saw that I didn't think that they had much of a chance against Vancouver. They put up a fight, but just not a lot of scoring there, so they could use someone. Even if it's not Marner, maybe they're looking for more of a goal scorer up here. So we'll see. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting because, it says right here with Nashville's projected salary cap, they're $26 million.
Yeah.
That's enough. Like, I think...
and that's interesting because...
I think that includes the...
Duchesne's buyout jumps like now if it wasn't last year. He's at 5.5 this year, 6.5 next year.
But then next 3 years it's 1.5. So that's
a lot more doable. And $4 million off the books from Johansson as well after this year. So Turris still on the books for $2 million for a couple more years, or for 4 more years specifically. So they got money on the books, and then they'll really be able to pay out some contracts to some guys. And you could basically move Yossi's money to Saros if you decide to keep him long term. Obviously he's been in lots of trade rumors, and they have Askarov. We'll see. That's it's really intriguing. Nashville.
I think it'll be interesting because they I think they played very well against Vancouver.
Yeah, they did.
I think they look at that and they go, you know what? Like, we have some good goaltending. Our decoy is still very solid.
Yeah.
Like, we have some decent forwards, but we need someone to like be the guy.
Yeah.
And if they go get Mitch Marner, which is funny because Mitch Marner hasn't been the guy in Toronto in the playoffs, but
a little bit less pressure.
Less pressure in the market there. And it's just, maybe it's just a better fit. Maybe it's a better system there. Like, imagine Philip Forsberg playing with Mitch Marner.
Yeah. That would be a lot of it would definitely strengthen their team. And I mean, if you really like that Forsberg O'Reilly Nyquist line, you could get Marner, and then maybe you can find another guy that can shoot the puck, put him in between, either Novak or maybe give him like a Sissons. That'd be like a really odd line. But I mean, Florida has kind of odd lines like that where they have like a Nick Cousins just casually with Tkachuk and Bennett, right? So there are different things you could do here. I will get into Marner definitely, like we said, probably after the playoffs.
Yeah.
I'm going to let everyone know right now, whether it's this offseason or it's at free agency, I think Nashville's the team. I really think that I think that Trotz, like, I wouldn't be surprised if, again, Trotz wants to make a big splash. Marner is a very talented and capable winger. I think he's also capable of being better in the playoffs and also being with a lineup that isn't like Marner. You have to be the guy with these other guys. That's so much pressure. Even just the fact that, like, what if Marner gets better just by playing with not Matthews and it's Forsberg, knowing that, like, hey, it's again not the pressure of winning, but Nashville. Sometimes you just perform better when there's less pressure. You put that pressure on yourself. I think Marner is a guy that he's not happy with where he's at. I don't see him as a guy that's like, just give me the money and I'd never want to win in my life. Maybe a la Boudreau or Huberdeau, and I don't think those guys are, that those guys are necessarily like that, especially Huberdeau. I think Huberdeau also isn't happy.
Huberdeau is
a lot better.
Like, he like, no one hates the fact that he's not performing more than him. Like, you can tell that.
That's what I mean, right? So, and maybe even more so than a Marner. So, and I think Marner has the complete game that Trotz is drawn to.
Yep, he's good defensively.
Yeah, so, and I think that would be, I just think the fit's there. And I don't necessarily think it would be for Saros. I could see it being for either like a defenseman like Fabro or Carrier throw in, and then picks and prospects.
Absolutely.
And my big brain quickly use those picks and prospects that you get and flip them for another guy on another team. Maybe it's Erasmus Anderson. Yeah. Maybe it's, I'm thinking another a forward like him with tenacity at Konechny, Philadelphia. That's just my big brain stuff. I mean, if you want to throw in something with that, you can. But
I mean, like, who we can discuss the Marner trade packages and stuff in an off-season episode there. There's some ideas that could be thrown out there, but we'll see what Brad does with the.
Yeah, I don't know if he's capable of being that creative, so maybe that's why it would be.
And he's consistently always the runner-up in most trades. So.
Yeah, and maybe even more so in signing contracts too. So we'll see. Yeah. Anyways, that was a long one today. I hope that's not too troublesome for you.
We're good.
We'll let you get going to your appointment there, and we'll be back. You'll probably be getting this episode around Sunday or just after, and we're going to record another one on Sunday with our grit. So
we'll have the grit back.
Yeah. So I think this went pretty well.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
We'll definitely do more if Tyler is busy. He's got had to do some lacrosse lots this week with his kids, so very busy week for him. And we had some time. We figured we were going to do we dub it a short one because it'll. It's just the two of us.
But I gotta make it a short one. I feel like this is our longest one yet.
Get two nerds in a room, and what we, without the grit, wearing us down, and we will talk forever. So, thanks for doing this one, Josh, and getting together. And
absolutely.
Any last thoughts or words? Or all good?
Not much other than that. My Cup Finals prediction of Dallas, Florida is looking real good right about now.
That's true.
So, I think very, very proud of it. The rest of my bracket, but my Cup Finals, I have that.
Hey, that's what matters when if you get the finale. Like, how many people get their Cup pick right? Like, not many. I picked Canes, didn't happen. I think it was Canes versus. I think nonchalantly, actually, I picked Oilers in that.
Yeah.
And that was against Vegas though. So, but I might have done Oilers just because it was against the Canes. They were in the finals before, but I don't know if I ever believed the Oilers were going to get there. They got a shot now.
They have a shot. They're
in the
top 4 teams that could do it. So
So at this point, I'd say Panthers, Stars, and I'd pick Panthers. I think you said you'd pick Stars.
No, I do have the Stars. I do have the Panthers winning.
You do.
I think it. I have the Panthers winning the Cup. I think I'd rather see Dallas win just so that Joe Pavelski can finally win a Cup because
that's fair.
Man, he needs one.
If there's any guy that you just want to see win a Cup, Pavelski out of all the guys left is probably that guy.
Oh yeah,
and yet also Dallas has a really large window, so but you really want to prefer Pavelski.
Yes, because who knows how much longer he'll be playing for.
Yeah, Panthers are also interesting because they haven't won a Cup. And some guys they might be losing this offseason. Maybe they retain Reinhart, but maybe they can't retain Montour.
Yeah,
that'll be really interesting. I hope it's Panthers. I'd also be content with Stars. I'd mildly be okay with Rangers, and if McDavid wins, then good for him. He did it with just him and the 3 other Stooges. So
exactly.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for joining us, everyone. And this long one, if you stayed tuned, then you're a trooper. You were our grit today if you stayed with us. So thanks for being here, and we'll catch you guys soon.